this workshop.
Can I stop sharing, or are you going to do your sharing?
Oh, Nicole or Emily, which one of you are sharing?
I could share.
Okay, Nicole. So I'm Bibi. I'll be doing the walkthrough from Git. Nicole, Emily, Esther, Frank, you guys can introduce yourselves as well.
I'm Nicole Haller. Hi.
Hi, I'm Emily Haller.
Hi, I'm Esther Abitan.
Hi, I'm Frank, and I'll be helping you all with whatever question you have. I guess you can drop it in the chat, and I'll help you out there. And let's see. Yeah, so today we'll be talking about Git, and I'm sure Bibi could give you a quick introduction of what Git is. And yeah,
No,
so
that's,
or
Emily and Nicole will be doing that.
oh yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Emily, Nicole.
Okay, so we're gonna just give like a few like background information about Git, and then we'll go into the workshop. So what is Git? Git is a popular version control system created in 2005. It's like a terminal which has certain commands to connect your files locally into GitHub. 70% of developers use Git. So what is it used for? It's used for tracking code changes, tracking who made changes, and coding collaboration. And then what is GitHub? Git is not the same as GitHub. GitHub makes tools that use Git. So in other words, GitHub uses Git.
So what are repositories? A Git repository tracks and saves the history of all changes made to the files in a Git project. And it saves this data in a directory called .git, which is also known as the repository folder. What companies use it? GitHub is usually used by companies for open source projects. And Git is an open source project, meaning that it is publicly accessible. So it's good for people to collaborate with each other. If people want to collaborate with each other, they could use it. Google, Facebook, Spotify, and many other companies use it. And it is used heavily in many startup companies.
Frank, can you explain this?
Oh yes. So this is me. So I guess I'll explain very briefly on how Git works, or what are like the basic, or what is an overview of what exactly is Git. So as they mentioned before, Git is a version control system or version control software that allows you to, as the name says, control different versions of your code. And one of the main aspects of having Git or using Git in, say, a big code base or a small code base is that it allows you to have different branches. And what these branches are basically different states of your project. So for example, say you're developing a big application, and this application has different features. And so what you want to do is create different branches, which is small environments of the current working project, and develop something that you're implementing, right? And branches allow different team members to collaborate and synchronize their code to one entire project. In this case, is referred to as master or main. And so how this basically works is that you have a big project, the big actual project, the development project, or the thing that is out in the wild, users are using it, and it's called master. And then if you want to implement something, say my work, referred to as in the blue dots, then I would clone that master branch, and I would create my own branch, and then, add my little code changes, add anything. And then master branch could continue updating as other contributors add their code to the master branch. And then when I'm done doing my changes, I simply commit or merge my implemented code into the master branch, and then putting everything together. And it makes everything, I guess, in a way seamless, and you're able to not rewrite code or overlap with other people, so you guys can collaborate. And so yeah, am I missing anything? Would you add anything, BB, or Nicole, Emily, or Esther?
I would just add that so when Frank does his changes in, say, the blue circles and then commits or merges it back to the master branch, which is basically you can think of it as the main version that everyone is following on GitHub of that certain code. So when he puts his code into the main code that everyone is kind of branching out of, say I am the orange circle, because I took the code from the main branch before Frank merged his code into the main branch, I will not have Frank's changes where that orange circle is. So when I'm ready to push my code into the main branch, so put whatever changes I made to the code and put that into the master branch, which is you can think of it as the most updated version of a code when you're working with multiple people on a project. So when I'm ready to put it into that master branch, I have to pull from the master branch. So get everything that has been added in the master branch before I merge back. So when I do a pull, I get all of Frank's work that he just put into the master branch. And then there you'd have to like resolve any errors or conflicting things. And then I'm able to put my code into the master branch. I'm not sure if that's a lot, but we will get into a demo or a practice of how to do that.
Right. Yeah, so that's basically the very big overview. There's other features in Git that I guess allow you to work more efficiently, but that is the main analogy or the obvious workflow that usually everybody follows. And we will show you exactly what we mean. So, yeah.
Okay, so now here's 3 important commands that like help you with the workflow. So one is Git Add, and this is what it looks like in this white box. It's add space dot, and this will add all files under the current directory. And then we also have Git Commit, which commits to adding your files to the repository. And this is what it looks like in the white box. So the -m means message, and every time you commit, you have to make a descriptive comment about what change you made. And as you see up here, it says initial commit, like it has to be in quotes, whatever your message is. And then we also have Git push, which looks like this in this white box. And it pushes your updates to the remote repository in GitHub.
Okay, now we're gonna move on and see how Git actually works in action.
Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so how many people have their GitHub and replets? You can just react with a thumbs up. Okay, so quite a few of you. If you haven't, just make one. It takes like less than 5 minutes. So first, let's start with GitHub. So you can go to github.com. And I'm going to show you what a proper GitHub account looks like. Mine is not a good example, and I'll show you why. So don't mind my face. So these are just like projects that I've worked on, and I pushed locally from my laptop that I've coded these projects on, and I pushed it onto my GitHub. So this I did for my elective class. So this was a project we had to work on for natural language processing, and these are just like my Python files that we had to make for this project. And I did the commands that I'm going to show you, and I got my code into this online platform called GitHub. So literally anyone could look up my name and see this project. So these things are called repositories. So one repository, or a shortcut to saying it, calling it, is repo. And that's basically, you can think of it as like a folder or a project. So like this is one repo, right? That's the one I just opened. And inside of it has all the files that I've coded for that project. So cool thing about GitHub is that it shows like green spots when you're active using GitHub. So like when you pull, push, or add, which is stuff we're going to do today, you'll just get like a green mark. So as you can see, I don't do too much. And in the past, majority of my stuff was just in the summer because of like internships and stuff. But a good example of one would be Frank's. So let's look at Frank's. What's your name on this? Knar? So this is an example of what you want your GitHub to look like. Recruiters and hiring managers, if they look at your GitHub and you're like, they look at Frank's like, wow, okay, yeah, this guy codes a lot. So these are his repos, as you can see, and some of them are private because he's secretly coding a startup company. I can't seem to find one. So the thing about repositories is that they could be private or public. Yeah, I can't find a private one, but if let's say it was private, then I won't be able to see any of his code from there. But if it's public, then like I could click on it and like literally just copy his code or something. So yeah, so let's make our own repository. So just click this. Click this plus sign at the top right, and then press new repository. So you should be on this page. And then for repository name, we can call this GitHub, no, we call it Git Workshop. And then as you can see, you don't have to add a description, but if you'd like, you can. In this section right here, you can choose whether you want it private or public. I'm going to leave it public because we're not going to do too much in this repo. And then underneath here, there's like a Readme file. A Readme file is basically, people usually add like blurbs of what the project is. And so like my machine learning one, this is a Readme file. So it's just like a description of what the project is. In this case, I used it as a description of how to run this training set. So when you create a Readme file, which we don't have to right now, but when you create one and you go on like a certain project, and people usually scroll down and you can read a little blurb or something, that's the file that shows underneath your files. Okay, so that you can leave these unchecked and then just press create repository. So now you're at a page like this. Don't do anything because we'll need to copy this line, but not right now. Duplicate this tab or open a new tab and go onto your GitHub account. And then you're gonna go to settings. So it's like the drop down and then go to settings. Scroll down to where you see developer settings. Press that. Now you're gonna see personal access tokens. Press that and generate a new token. So this button right here on the semi top right. All right, so now I'll explain, actually I can explain it now. So personalized access token. So before some point of last year, summer, GitHub when you would push any code changes onto this online platform, you would just type in your GitHub password that you created for your GitHub account. But now they have a new protocol where you need to, when the terminal asks you to enter your password, you have to enter this token that we're about to create. So that's just the point of doing this part. You could put a note token for Git workshop. And then all you want to do is just press everything, just check everything. This is just granting this token access to do certain things on the Git terminal. So to avoid any troubles and any Git commands, we just press check everything. And then press generate token when you finish checking everything. And you should have something that looks like this part right here. Let me know if I should take a step back or redo something. So now we have this token. So just copy it. This square button is copying, and paste it somewhere because we're going to refer back to it. So just paste it into like a file or something locally on your laptop, anywhere. Okay. So now so this is GitHub. So now we're going to do the Git commands. So the goal of this is we have this new repository called Git Workshop, right, that we just created. We want to add some code in here. We want to code locally in our laptop. For this workshop, we're not coding locally, we're coding on an online editor called Replit. Just because to use Git, to use the Git terminal, you have to download something called Bash, or just like a package. And so it's just to avoid any trouble, we're using this online IDE for this workshop. So yeah, we want to add some code, some files in this repository. So go onto your Replit account. And then you're gonna press create, which is this plus sign button. If you don't see it there, it should be just like the hamburger icon and then create. Click bash. You can type in bash and it'll pop up. And then it creates some wonky titles for your projects. You can name it anything you want. You can just leave it as that. And then hit create REPL. Okay, so this is all in Replit, right? So let's make a file. Let's put some code in here as though we're actually coding some sort of project. So let's do like index.html. This is our index page. Make an HTML tag. Add. Body, and then in our body, let's just put like a header, and for the header you can put any text. Hello there, hello world. Okay, so that's our index file. So we want to, our goal is to add this file onto our Replit, onto our repo, so that anyone who has our GitHub can see this, right? So in our terminal, we can, so on your right, you should see this black box, right? And on it, don't go to shell, you should be on console. Either way, I think should work, but we're just using console. So type git init and then press enter. So basically what, sorry, I need a sip of water. So basically what Git Init does is that if you guys know Linux, it basically takes the folder that we are working in. You don't have to type this, but it takes the folder that we're working in. So right now I'm in some folder called GitHub Workshop. And inside this folder called GitHub Workshop, on my terminal, I have these 3 files, which is the index file I just made, the main right here, and then there's like this replit file. But that's just because we're using replit. So what Git Init does is it initializes Git inside of this folder. So now this becomes a Git environment so that we can use Git commands to push to GitHub. So the next command is git config dash global user dot email, then put your email that you made your GitHub account with. And then press enter. And then you can do the same for username. Config. Git config dash global dot name. And then for the username, you're gonna put your GitHub username. So if you don't know it, it's like mine is bhassan6621. Press enter. I spelled config wrong. Okay, so now it's just like got my GitHub information. So now the next command is git add. So it's git add and this period, so like a dot. What this dot means is that it's taking everything inside of this folder and it's basically grabbing all of those files, like all these 3 files. It's taking it and it's adding it to storage, I guess, to memory. So when we push it into our GitHub repository, all these 3 files will be pushed. But say we only did some change in like the index file, we could just type git add.index.html. Say that that's the only file we want to add to our GitHub. That's the way you would do it, just like add the file name. But we're gonna add everything. So just git add space dot, press enter, git commit -m, and then quotation marks and put some sort of message, adding 3 files. So what git commit does is that it stores these changes locally to be pushed into GitHub, and then like this -m is basically adding a message to your commit. So basically when you do a push, you're making a new version of your code, right? And putting that to GitHub. So whenever you do commit, you have to add a message, and then whatever message is inside the quotes, it has to be, it doesn't have to be, it can literally be like hi or something, any text or anything. But best practice is to make it something descriptive about what changes you're putting into your GitHub account, into your repository. So like if Frank was to if we're working on a project together on GitHub and I make some change and I commit it, this commit message would kind of be some sort of description of what my code does. So press enter and then git remote origin. Now don't press enter yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go into our GitHub account, the page that has this repository that we made with the Git workshop. So we want to take this URL right here. So you can just press this copy button on the right, or you can just copy it yourself. That's okay too. And then we're going to paste it into this command. So git origin add, and then it has that link we just copied. Now press enter. So now it links this Git environment with this particular repository in our GitHub. So now we can just push our changes. So it's git push -u origin master. Press enter. It's going to ask for your username, so you have to sign in. So put your GitHub username. And then for password, we're going to take this token that I said to copy. We're going to take this token, copy it. Make sure there are no spaces when you copy it. It's just this long string. If there's a space, it's going to give you an error and say the password is incorrect. So make sure there's no spaces when you copy it. Copy and paste it, and then just press enter. It's not going to show you any text or anything. Just paste, press enter. And yeah, so you should see a bunch of text like that looks like this. To double check that everything went through, let's go onto our repository, and then this is on our GitHub that we made. Just press refresh, and voila, our files are here. Can't find the workshop URL. Which URL is that? Do you mean this URL right here? Okay. Okay. So that is the first thing. So now we made some code and we pushed it onto our GitHub. So those are the three important commands. So it's git add, git commit, and git push. That's how you push changes that you make here onto your GitHub account. Okay. So now we're going to go into branches, which Frank, Emily, and Nicole explained were these version control things. So right now, if we go here, or actually, if you type in git status, git branch, type in git branch, it basically shows you a list of branches that you have in this current Git environment. So as we see, we only have master. So whatever changes we make, we're making it to this master branch, which is like the main branch or version that we're working on. So what we want to do is we want to branch out. We want to take these changes that we have in the main branch, which is like this file, right, where it says hello world. And I want to work on it separately and do some changes and put it back into this GitHub. So I'm going to make a branch. Branch. And then what follows branch is the branch name. It could be any text. It could be anything, but we'll just call it branch 1. Press enter. Then git push origin branch 1. And your username. And then that token. Every time I ask for a password, you're going to use that token. Enter. So now we have a new branch. If you do branch, you get branch to see all the branches that we're working with. We now see that there's the master branch and we have branch 1. So why the master branch is green and it has that star next to it, because that's the current branch that we are on in our Git environment. So any changes I do here, that's going to be on the master branch. But I want to work solely on branch 1. So to switch branches, you're going to do git check out, and then the branch name, it's branch 1. Enter git branch to see which branch we're on. And now we see that we just transitioned into branch 1. But let's just make another branch. Go back to the master branch. So git checkout master. So now we are in the master branch, right? So let's just make another branch. Git branch 2. Let's get origin, nope, git push. Branch 2. And then your credentials, token, paste. So now, if you do git branch, we have 3 branches. So let's go into our branch 1 and make some change, and let's see what happens when we make some change to branch 1. So git checkout branch 1. You see that we're on the branch 1. We're going to make some changes in here. Okay, so in our HTML file, let's just make some change. Let's add an H2. I am awesome. And then just Command S to save it. So now, if you do git status, which shows us the status of our repository of our Git environment, we see this red thing that says index.html is modified. It is modified because we just added this line of code. So what we want to do is do a Git Add. And Git Commit -m H2, which is just like a descriptive message of what we did. And then we're going to push this git push origin. And then you're going to put the branch name that you made this change. So branch 1. Credentials. I messed up. Git push origin branch B. I messed up with my username. So now we added this change into our branch 1. If we're to go to our main branch, so we made this change in branch 1. If I'm to go on here and refresh, I don't see that change. That's because this is the master version, right? And as you can see right here, it says branch 1 has the recent push. That means that there was some change we made on branch 1 and it's not pushed to master yet. So even on the GitHub GUI, which is like the UI, you can see the different branches that we made. We have branch 1 and branch 2. Let's say I click on branch 1 and I go to the index file. I see the change that it made. This is really helpful when you're working on any open source project or working with somebody else on a project, because to name this better, like this could have been like BB's changes or like Emily's changes for branch 2, right? So I can click on here and see the changes that I've made. And so what this is saying is compare and pull, meaning let's merge the changes that I made on branch 1 into the master branch. We can do that on our terminal, and we can also see the change that didn't go onto the master in our terminal. So type git checkout master. So we're switching back to our master branch. So automatically you see that line of code where it says I am awesome is no longer there. That's because if you type in git branch, we're no longer in branch one, we're in the master branch. And so the change that we made in branch one is not in the master branch. How do we do that? To do that, we have to merge these two branches. We have to merge, so it's this step right here. How do I get the laser thingy? I don't know. So it's the step right here with the blue dot goes into the green dot. So we want to merge our changes into the master branch. So to do that, it's git merge, and then type in the branch name, branch one, press enter, and voila. So our change is into our master branch. Go back to your GitHub and just press refresh. If you go in index, here it is. Thanks. Now, if we're to go into Git checkout for branch two, do you expect this change to be there? No. The reason for that is because of the version control, right? Branch one, we took a version of master. We took whatever code was in our repo, which was only the index file without this line. And we took it and made branch one. And then in branch one, we made that change of adding I am awesome, this line right here with this header too. And we made that change. And we didn't merge yet back into the master branch. Whilst that was happening, what we did was we made another branch at the same time. And we took that code that was in master, which was just hello world alone, and we made branch two. So when branch one merged back into the master branch, I sound like an old lady right now. Branch two does not have that change because it only has the version of master without that, because we merged it before. Sorry, we made branch two before we merged branch one into master. So that is why when you're in branch two, which we are, git branch, we see that we're in branch two, we do not have that change. Yes, so to get it, we do git pull. Git pull gets every, why? Confused. I didn't set it up. Interesting. Origin. Strange. It's not supposed to. Technical difficulty. Okay, the merge worked. So I just merged it with the master changes. I think it's saying git pull remote because like this is an ID online, but if I was on my local terminal, it wouldn't be remote. So if you type git merge master, it just merges the changes that master has into your work that you were doing already on this branch. So that's pretty much it for this workshop. So what we learned was how to push files onto a GitHub repo. we learned how to make different branches and how to merge different versions of work. Any questions? Okay, so just as a side note, like everything we did on here, you can do on your terminal on your laptop. You just need to download something called Bash. I think it's this one. You just have to download it and then you can do everything we did in this console on your terminal locally. So like, let's say I do a lot of my work on visual. No, I use Atom as my ID. If I have like a project on my local laptop and I just go on my terminal, I can do all these commands and I don't need to use Replit. So it's a very useful skill set to learn. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the workshop. Can Bash be downloaded from Atom using this search feature? I think they do have an update where you can use Git on Bash, Atom, as well as Visual Studios, I think. Yeah. But I do think it's useful to learn it on your terminal or just to have it downloaded on the Bash download on your terminal. I don't think it takes up that much space, does it, Frank?
No, I don't think so. I think yeah, if you're in Windows, you download Git Bash, and I think Git Bash comes with Git already. And then if you're in Mac, I think it comes with Git as well. So you don't have to download anything extra. But the reason why we didn't replicate it was because you don't have to worry about Windows or Mac, right?
Yeah.
And, so I don't think you have to worry about space, bottom line. Does that make sense?
Any other questions? I'll send a super useful link. It just has like all the commands that I've done and then some extra ones. I found this to be the most useful Git cheat sheet. Because I mean, if I haven't worked with Git in a while, I honestly forget like most of these commands. So that's a pretty useful cheat sheet to have stored. But yeah, that's about it for this workshop. Thank you all for attending.